Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. PDSE 2018, it's day 3, and we are now here again in the media center with Standard Lithium and Robert Mintak, the CEO, who wants to give us an insight into his company. Robert, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for visiting with me.
Yeah, great to have you here. Standard Lithium, of course, another lithium company, but one of the more, let's say, high quality special side, I would call it. Maybe you can shortly describe the company, and then let's dive into what you have accomplished 2017.
Yeah, no, we only launched in 2017, and we had actually quite a successful year. We have a very simple but disciplined business model, and that was to focus on acquiring projects where we could eliminate permit risk. And in 2017, we signed agreements with 2 permitted operators on a project in California, which was an area where brine production has been underway for 100 years, just not for lithium. They weren't aware that, or they weren't cognizant of the fact that there was a lot of lithium in the brine that they were operating on. So
what have they done instead? Salt, or what was it then?
Yeah, no, they did salt, exactly. They were making calcium chloride, sodium chloride, making salt for 100 years. Permitted plan of operations filed with the BLM. We signed agreements with both the permitted operators, 35,000 hectare project, paved highway to the site, all the infrastructure that comes with an existing permitted operator. So we got immediately to begin work in California, getting raw brine, begin process work, get an exploration program underway, and moving really quickly. And that really drew a lot of attention to the company because we didn't have to spend millions of dollars developing a resource before we could do the process work. That's one of the key, most important parts on a lithium project is you got to unlock the lithium from the brine. So the first day we signed the lease, we hired a truck, took 10,000 liters of brine to our process facility. So that really, moved us from starting in 2017 and having to go through all those baby steps of developing a project and put us, ahead of almost everybody else.
Yeah, fantastic. But you're not only in California, you are also in some different states, I would call it.
Yeah, no, we focused on the U.S. So we had opportunities to look at in South America, but really the lithium cycle, it's a real, the demand for lithium is real, but there's hundreds of companies chasing after it. The key is to find a fast track to production. So we felt we did that in California. We're working in a state where there's operators in place and permits in place. There's not a lot of opportunities in the U.S. though for brine projects. And the one that has been overlooked but will soon, we believe, be on everybody's tongue is Arkansas. And it is an area where there's brine production. It's been going on for the last 50 years. Albemarle got started there, not producing lithium, producing bromine, but brine production has been going on for greater than 60 years in southern Arkansas, and it's an area that's rich in lithium.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, and we signed an agreement for 33,000 acres in Arkansas, directly adjacent to Albemarle's producing brine fields.
So that means you have a very tough work program for 2018, I assume.
Yeah,
and of course, costs money. What is in the bank before we start with the work program?
Yeah, we just closed. Last year was really successful. In 2017, we raised 2 financings, one at 25 cents for $5 million, another $7.5 million at 75 cents, and we just closed a bought deal for $22 million at $2.10. So every stage we've shown value for investors. Tight float, 72 million shares out, and $23 million in the bank account.
Wow, super.
And the exploration programs are pretty much paid for already in California. In Arkansas, we've inherited a decade worth of already work that's been done on the property. 250 wells have already been drilled on the property we have. Of that, we've got all the downhole geological data. We've got geophysical data on 30 of those wells, core samples on 15 of them, 200 miles of seismic already on the property. So we're going to really quickly be able to put together a 43-101 on the property in Arkansas. And we signed an agreement with Tetra Technologies to build a pilot plant adjacent to the permitted chemical process facility in southern Arkansas, which will allow us to tie into a brine pipeline. So we'll be able to get a pilot plant commissioned. We're working on engineering drawings right now, budgets. We anticipate, subject to success on a few of the steps along the way, to have a pilot plant commissioned and up and running in early 2019.
Okay. What could you imagine, let's say the pilot plant, everything goes really well, everything is fine. What could you imagine when you could be in full production, first thing, and second thing, what it might cost? Just an idea. Do we talk about $50 million, $200, $500 million?
Those numbers, of course, we have to go through all the regulatory steps.
Yeah,
so
it's just hypothetical.
Yeah, so we're anticipating the feasibility study to come quickly after the pilot plant. Back of the envelope numbers, we're looking at OPEX not to be in the lower quartile of the globe. I don't want to put any dollar numbers on it because of regulators,
of course,
obviously.
Of course.
And then because we're already working in an area with extensive infrastructure, permitting is well understood in southern Arkansas, and with the pilot plant, we have an ability to tie into an existing pilot or to an existing pipeline. We think the operating or the capex will be, significantly under $500 million, where most of the brine projects are 500 to 700 million. Will come in significantly lower. We're looking at using modern extraction processes, not evaporation ponds. California, it'll be a hybrid of some evaporation and a modern selective processing. But the work we've done over the last number of years, we can point to the ability to scale the project and to build according to demand, and not have to sink in the 500 to 700 million dollars that most conventional brine processes have to work. So we're looking at significantly lower costs than that.
Perfect. And I mean, you are in the US, that means all the car makers are there. You have, let's say, your market in front of the door, right?
Yeah, no, the U.S. is President Trump, love him or hate him, but a lot of people, he's identified lithium as a critical element, and that the U.S. needs to focus on it. There's not a lot of opportunities in the U.S. to do that. Arkansas and California are key to that.
Great, fantastic. Maybe one word on the lithium market. We both agree that the lithium market will grow, and maybe you can say something on that. I would call it a funny study from Morgan Stanley. Maybe you can comment a little bit on that, because it caused a bit of irritation, I would say.
Yeah, because people only read the headlines. If they dove down and did a deep dive on the propositions that they had in where supply was coming from, they didn't do their research. And whatever research they didn't follow up and say, what is the practical application of the some of the numbers they were putting out for South American production. A lot of those projects haven't been financed yet. SQM's came out 2 days after the Morgan Stanley report came out and said we have no objective of hitting that total 200,000 ton production that we have in our quota. They're looking at half of that. So I think the industry answered immediately, but the investor audience and the media, commentators, they don't pay attention. But I've been working in the space for the better part of the last 10 years. It's been a lot of projections on supply coming on demand, or supply coming online, and it's never come online as projected.
There are always hiccups.
There's always hiccups. There needs to be billions of dollars invested. And there needs to be 15 to 30 projects come online. So every new project that come online has to come online. The Canadian hard rock projects, we need to see some of those come online. The South American brine projects have to come online. There's going to be a demand for 800,000 to 1 million tons within the next 8 to 10 years. So it needs to be found, it needs to be brought online quick. Billions of dollars need to be invested.
Absolutely. Super, that was a great final sentence. Thank you very much for the interview.
Oh, you're
very
welcome.
Compelling, great story.
Awesome.
I like it. And all the best, success.
Yeah, no,
and we want to hear good news.
Yeah, no, I encourage people to look into Arkansas, because we know Argentina begins with an A for lithium, Australia, but now Arkansas will be another jurisdiction that begins with an A that's rich in lithium.
And it's in the heart of the USA.
It's in the heart of the USA, correct.
Great, perfect. Thank you very much, Robert.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it was Robert Mintak, the CEO of Standard Lithium, and you heard it, the lithium demand is growing and growing, of course, and on the other hand, Standard Lithium is really in the right spot in the heart of the US, in Arkansas, also in California, and the future looks bright. The company has $23 million in the bank. The drills are turning, and they are working on NI 43-101 on the one hand, feasibility is on the path. So they are on the path to production, and for 2019 they want to have the first pilot plant. So check out the company. Thanks for watching us. Bye-bye from
Thank you.
Toronto.